I used this biomass plastic, and I used to for zucchini growing. Every year, if I use the normal plastic, I have to take off and I have to do dumping. So I save for dumping cost, I save for pull out cost. This one is biodegradable, so after finish the crops, it can be rotary with the soil.
Fantastic.
And did you get the life expectancy in the ground was good?
Yeah, that's first time I used it 1 year.
Yeah.
So it's
And that was good?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Zaman, did you use the film by the mulch for two plantings or one planting?
I do two planting.
Two plantings.
Yes.
And after that, when you rotary hoe,
Yes.
it's very soft on the blade. It's no
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it didn't get wound up on the blade?
No, it's mixed with the soil.
Yeah.
So we've actually got
No,
some
no.
photos.
Yes.
So there's a so this one was late November, towards the end of the first zucchini planting. So you can see basically that in this particular shot, it's towards the end of the first planting, and the only holes that are there were actually when the product was laid down. And what actually, that's not a big issue. In the future, next time you lay the product down, we'll give you more guidance. So it's just about releasing the tension on the rollers as the product is laid down.
Yes.
And so Scott Morton knows all about that, and he will be making sure that you've got all the information. This was our first time,
Yes.
but at the end of the day, those holes didn't make too much of a difference. But as you can see, after the first 4 months, it really hasn't broken down at all. And then this is after the second crop.
Yes.
And so you can see this is late April after the second crop. It's pretty much 70% broken down. 70%, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah, 70% broken down. And the mulch film on the left is the
Normal
traditional.
one.
Yeah.
Normal one.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting.
So that when you rotary hoe that ground, there'd be nothing literally to catch on the rotary hoe, would it?
No.
No, I mean, yeah.
Did it
So-
catch-
Plus you got to take your dripper
did it-
line down.
did it catch it? So when you rotary hoed it in, did it tangle at all on the rotary hoe? When you rotary hoed in, did it tangle?
Did it get caught up in the
Did it
blades?
get caught up?
No.
No, okay, very good.
It's interesting. So the way that it actually breaks down is that the microorganisms in the soil
Yeah.
eat it up, and so what you are left with is gets converted to products of metabolism and tiny bit of biomass, mainly carbon dioxide
And
and water.
So it's actually been broken down from the bottom up rather than like falling to bits because of UV.
That's right, and that's the difference. So if you look for the difference, you will actually see if you saw an oxo-degradable film breaking down, you'd see it fragment into tiny little pieces, whereas with this, you don't see any pieces because it's effectively being consumed.
Yeah, but where are the drippers? Underneath the plastic or
The dripper is underneath the plastic. Drippers, I think you can see. Yes, it's on the drippers.
So you need to remove the drippers?
Yeah,
before
need to
you-
remove.
Sure. Okay.
Did the product?
Easy to remove the plastic. When you pull it, it's much easier.
Did you roll the dripper up? The dripper, the tape, did you
Yes,
roll it up?
yes.
And the pieces that were left didn't get in the way of the rolling machine?
Sorry?
So this stuff, didn't get caught up in the rolling machine?
No. When we pull the pipe, then it's.
It just pulls out?
Yeah.
No, that's good. So that's...
I don't really have much else to report apart from he did a pretty good job. I wanted it for weed suppression and that was fine. The first couple of months it was just like a normal plastic film. Then afterwards you could notice that the texture went a bit more brittle, much more easier to break if you so wanted to. 2 months in, I did notice some weeds sort of growing through gaps, but not from punctures. I think I have a special case in the sense that I leave the ground, you can see the weeds just growing everywhere. I have a very high seed bank in my soil. from reasons of methodology. So it's not something to maybe come to conclusions to. I would have liked the product to have lasted maybe a bit, like an extra month or two, but certainly it breaks down, and I haven't rotary hoed because I let my soil rest, but if I did, for sure it would be easily incorporated into the ground.
So I was just going to say, the best thing about us manufacturing in Adelaide, we can always make the product slightly thicker.
Yeah. My impression was that if this was in the glass house, which is this was in shade cloth,
right,
and pretty, pardon my French, shitty
right.
setup as well. Yeah, I think in the glass house, because it'll be a lot more protected, a lot less sort of weed pressure, it would have lasted probably the required amount of time. Yeah.
So Thomas, I've actually got the photos that you texted me the other day. If I bring them up one by one, are you able to just? Because I think that if I can, if I can just
see, here's the thing, and this is why I didn't really want to say. The reason why I wanted the film in the first place was actually for threat resistance, not necessarily for weeds. Right. I don't have a problem with weeds because I think the more sort of a natural, I sound like a hippie now, but a natural ecosystem, the better balance of pests and beneficial insects. Yes. Threat numbers were very minimal. Yeah. They did, looking at the pictures, the one thing I can sort of say for sure is, so you can see like everything that's worked in the soil, there's a lot of dry organic matter, so that's the kind of aim I'm going for. And once again, I think if you have a high organic matter in the soil, you're going to have the product not last as long because it's just more bio. So once again, in a glasshouse environment, I think it'll last a little longer. One thing I can say with absolute certainty is that the growth rate was a lot higher. So like I did half a row, the rows that were underneath, on top of the plastic grew a lot quicker. And you'll be able to see that if you've got more pictures.
Yeah, I just need IT to hear.
So that was planting on the 13th. That just a couple of weeks later, you can see the weeds going crazy. Obviously, there was a non-issue with the film, and the film was fine, intact for the first portion, and then the next. So plus I got a piece of everything, so it's hard to.
What if you walk on it when it's sort of newly applied? How strong is it?
To be honest, I don't. It would certainly not fare as well as the plastic. The plastic's a lot more stretchy, a lot more elastic. But actually, I find that a detriment. So I do everything by hand. So I'm on my hands and knees, like puncturing holes with my hands. The film, the biofilm, was a lot easier to work with, because it doesn't have this, and that stretchiness is actually what I think causes the gumming up in the rotary hoe. If it was a lot more brittle, it will just break instead of actually coagulating, for lack of a better term.
And Thomas, did you do a cost benefit, like a cost against?
Once again, that's why this was a very sort of non-meticulous kind of. It's just anecdotal.
Yeah.
I don't think I picked. To be honest, I don't think I picked more from, but then again, there are so many variables involved, I can't say for sure.
Yeah, but even just on the cost of the materials?
It would save you a lot, just the time saved from weeding is worth it, just from that alone. Yeah. The fact that you wouldn't have as much insect pressure would be, look, it's for sure a benefit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, without a doubt, if I had to pick between plastic and this, 100% this, by far, like it's not a non-issue, even if you have to pay extra.
Yeah, okay.
A farmer, I think, would have to worry about cleaning up, whereas if you just you don't even have to roll up the drip line, it breaks really easily. Yeah. Or you could just like pull it from one end, rotary hoe, then cleaning up is really easy. So you can't really tell, but the growth from, I think subsequent photos you'll be able to see, but there was a clear difference in height of the plants. So you can see kind of like they're a lot higher. So they grew a lot more vigorously. And this was in shade cloth. no difference in terms of, I can't say, I mean, like I said, I hate making claims without being 100% sure. So I can say for certainty that the plants grew a lot better, but in terms of yield, I didn't notice a difference. But like I said, I've got a very particular setup where there's so many variables involved that you can't control for them. Yeah, that was basically it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.